Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Doc from North America. What do we got going on today? There is the dollar Swiss pairs trade. You can see it's trying to lift up a little bit. You can see it on the J4X for sure. You see the little white line trying to get through the dotted line there. Widen that out a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. You see the strength trying to come in. That means that the dollar is gaining in value, and the the Swissy is falling in value. That's what that represents there. Now let's look at here. Same situation going on. You can see it's just a little bit higher in the bar charts and candles, just a little bit more. Actually, I think that's going through. Let's see if we widen that. More than likely, it might look like it may be actually plus. Let's see. We widen it out. Yeah. See, we're plus. See, plot 1 is Z or 0.0000. Whoa! Look at that. It's just all zeros across. So it's just flirting with that zero line there. And now it's a plus 133. It would be 3 zeros and a 133. So it's what is that? 100. It's 100,000. Yeah, I guess it's almost 100,000 of 100,000 100,000ths of a move. Of a tick. So sometimes we can measure things at incredibly minute levels. In this case here, it's 100,000. I guess that would be a minus now. Now is that minus? I think it's minus again. So that's how tight we measure. This is how Doc's math works. It's our quantitative is going into literally almost going down into the atomic level. All right. So where are we at now here? So you can see the little. Wow, look at that. It's going from a -2 in the candle. You can see we're 2 weeks in a sell. There's pressure on the product. It's been going down, and that means that the Swiss franc itself is gaining in value, because when it goes down, it means it takes less Swiss francs to buy a dollar. And that's why we like to watch this as a measurement of what's going on with the Swiss franc. Let me, do we have it all up there? I think we do. Yeah, I think you can see the picture is really clear there. All right, and then let's jump over to the euro. You can see the euro has been very firm in here. We talked about yesterday, somebody asked where could this go. Chances are, as long as we're in a weekly buy, as you can see right there, and a daily buy, it's just going to go up. How far does it go? It goes as far as it wants to go. And right now, you can see it's marching away up. Now it's a little bit weaker this morning, but nothing major. It's just mild. It was plus, and it was a higher high, and it's a higher low, so there's strength in it. You can see here on our nonlinear timeline, those purple lines there. Let's widen that a little bit like that. You can see that the white line is above the time manifold, the plus side of the time manifold. So that's very positive. It means there's buyers going on. You can see the weekly is trying to turn up and get through the time manifold there on the same way. On the plus side, it is the line itself is above the zero line, so it's plus like the histogram, which put it into the weekly buy. Now we're going to see how much strength is cranked up into it. More buyers versus sellers. That's what this always represents in the end result. We just measure it at such minute levels, and also sometimes some enormously large levels. So that's where we are. Cable, same situation, except for, you see here, it went into the weekly sell up in this area here, and it's been making the lower lows with it and the lower highs. But we slipped into the buy a couple days ago, you can see there, and we're trying to lift up, but notice the weekly, it just doesn't have the horsepower to it right now. You can see the white line is so much into the minus. It hasn't really challenged the bottom time manifold there. That yellow line in the weekly right there. This thing, let's put a arrow at it or something like that. This thing right here. We're not seeing it challenge that. The line here in the minus area. Would be nice to see the white to climb up. We'll go back and show you an example of that. Like here. When that white line pierces it, you start to build strength. Notice the next week later it gets into a buy, and the product goes from the 130-ish area or the 129-ish area all the way up until, well, that was a really great move. But it goes up into the 140s area. So that's what we're watching here. So there's not a lot of buying going on in the cable. Hey, MGA, how you doing? Good morning to you. It's just a day away from TGIF. Hooray for us. All right. Bring on the weekend where there's no trading and I can just do research and farming and whatever other things I like to toy around with. Let's see. MGA, would you like to see anything particular? We can deviate. We don't have to just go through the rhythm here. We can deviate and see what else is going on. If you have anything that catches your eye and you'd like to, take a look at it really quick. Oh, we've had the March retail sales come out. 9.8 versus 5.9 estimated. Oh, man, look at that. That's a big number. March retail sales jumped. All that do-re-mi. Wonder if it took the stock markets. Let's see. Where are we at here? Here we go. Let's bring this up on the board real quick. There you go. And that is the Nasdaq 100. You can see that, or as Dukascopy calls it, the Tech 100. You can see it's just marching north, anticipating all those good numbers. And the numbers came out right there, I guess, off of that little area there at the 730 area. So it's made more highs there. Not all-time highs yet, but we're not far from it. We're only like 100 points away. So I'll move that back down. And so that's cool. And then I guess the employment number comes out too today. Is it the employment number? I guess we should be looking for a few numbers here, right? So we had March retail sales, which is really important. It was explosive, almost double what they were looking for. That's what happens. Sorry, Doc. Could you tell me what are the two windows below market? The market. Okay, there you go. See, that's a good thing. Are they indicators? Oh, yes. These things right here. You're talking about. I'm going to just put a little check mark at each one of them, like this. You mean here? This window here is a daily, and the one below it is the weekly. So these indicators are my proprietary indicators. We'll remove and remove. There we are. And this is the daily, and then this is the weekly. And what we like to see is we like to see the two of them working in unison together. Initial jobless claims, 576 versus 700,000. Estimated initial jobless claims. So jobless claims dropped. Cool. And that means the workforce is getting more, back into gear. So there's not much of a reason for all this stimulus anymore. We got so much stimulus going on, and I mean, it's just pouring in. So does that make sense to you? So one is a weekly, one is a daily. And we throw little green lines in and little pinkish lines and greenish lines in both of them just to give you a heads up. So in other words, when you're looking at, like right here, went into the daily buy. Which product is this? This is cable. All right. So cable went into a daily buy here, went into a daily sell here, went into a daily buy there, went into a daily sell there. And how to do that? Where's the daily buy? Wait, we're wrong. Remove that. Went into the daily sell here. And because of a red and a green dot and a red and a green dot, even with the histogram going plus, you couldn't take it as a daily buy until here, right there. Is it difficult to see? Yeah. How about now? Is that better by using that whole box? Does that work out better for you? So, it goes into the sell right here on the red line, and then goes back into a buy right here. Now, if this had been just green dots without the little red dots up in there, up on the top chart itself, it would have been in daily buys. But because it wasn't, because of the red and the green dots, it automatically stayed in the sell, and you can see it backed off too at the same time. Here's one here where it goes into the sell here where there's no dot, and the histogram and the white line go minus, no dot, so it's safe to go into the sell. And notice the next day it gets knocked down. Here's one, goes into a buy, and has a green dot, not green or red like right there. How about that? Better? Okay, cool. Yeah, so there are weekly. That is the bottom down here is the weekly signal. The middle one is the daily signal. I hope that makes some sense to you. And remember, there are no foolish or dumb or illogical questions in trading when you're dealing with money. There are only long or short answers to it all. That's all there ever is. Okay? So ask anything you like. And if you think, oh man, I shouldn't say that, I shouldn't ask that, I'm afraid I'll sound foolish. It's like, no, there are no foolish questions in trading. What there are is only long or short answers. That's all it comes down to. Okay? So ask anything you'd like. All right, now we're going to drift over to the Turkish lira, and if you have something you want to look at in the cable again, we'll go right back to it. All right? All right, now what we have here is the Turkish lira keeps on finding ways to go down. It's in the weekly sell. It's disappointed me. It's only done like half of what I expected it to do. That's why we leave this in there. And went into the buy here, and now we are in the sell here. I guess that should have been down below. That should be removed and put in right there. Is that right? Yeah. No. Right there, yeah. There we go. And so here, and that's awful big too. We don't need that as much. And we can just widen this instead. There we are. Widen that out. As you can see here on the weekly, it ever since this crazy spike up, at first it slipped into the weekly buy until the last day, and then it rolled back over again and gave us warning that pressure was right here in this area here. Gave a pop on the Monday. I guess that would be the Monday, right? That would be the Friday. I guess where's the Monday? So 26 was the Friday, right there. And missed going into the buy, and then it rolled over the next 2 days, and has been kind of sloppy nowhere. Turkish lira doesn't seem to have any conviction whatsoever. There's the whole thing. There must be another shoe ready to drop in this whole product. That's the way I'm thinking about it. Is that for some reason the way it's acting, it's trying to tell us that there's something else coming around the corner. No idea what it is. More than likely, the math 8.5 out of 10 times is going to pick it up. And we'll see what that does in the end. But it does seem like it's trying to tell us that they're trying to drive it back down again. And they're having a hard time getting out of this 8 area. And so, if we get into a daily buy and a weekly buy, this thing could go through these little yellow dots and even go worse. And that's I would have to say that the international community or the world, because we're talking about currencies here. So you have a global community that trades these products, doesn't have confidence in whatever the president did, in his economic change of the central bank and so forth. They're not very comfortable with it, as much as it looks like they're trying. This could be sovereign money or borrowed money trying to hold it down right now, and we've seen that happen before, where President Aragon plays with the numbers pretty well. He's very skilled at it. And then all of a sudden, the world actually sees what's going on. And this thing could do a ruble on you. Good old ruble, like when long-term capital management got in trouble in the 90s, where one day the ruble's at 4, and the next thing you know, it's at like 7, 8, 9, and then it's at 13. This thing could be going like, this could turn out like let's go over to J4X and look at the what do you call it? The South African Rand. The South African Rand pulled that same situation after Mandela, or during Mandela. They socialist policies started to permeate the society, and the Rand, socialism just is not economically feasible. But everybody seems to groove on it for some reason. Everybody wants a unicorn and wants to live in utopia or something. I don't know. And so, as I was saying a while back, I saw on Wired magazine, the tech magazine, they were saying, geez, if Stalin just had computers, boy, he would have made socialism, communism work really well. Yeah. So you can see here, like the Rand went in 2003 or 4, they had to change the relationship of it. And see, it jumped all the way up into the 20s, so it literally doubled from the what was that, like the 8 or 9 area, the 7 area, 6 area, something like that. Went all the way up into basically the 18 area, something like that. So we can get a hold of it. There's 15, and there is 17, 18 area. So we could possibly see the what Mr. with President Aragon, what he has done to the central bank, may be holding on with dear life at the moment. They may be just, we may be seeing the same thing occur with that. And, one day we're going to walk in and things trading at 12 or something like that. It could be that tenacious. Notice, in many ways, this is almost like a this is a reverse head and shoulders in many ways. Look at that pattern. Now, this is just a daily. So you got here one shoulder. There's the head at the bottom. So it's the big bottom. There's the next shoulder. And with the way it's trading on Chicago Quant, you definitely have to be concerned. That's for sure. If anybody can trade it through warrants or options or binaries, I recommend doing that. Be very, very careful in this product. The volatility is through the roof. Margins are enormous, and it's awful hard to carry inventory. Be careful, traders. This product here could just, like I said, you could wake up tomorrow morning and it could be 12. It could do the same thing as the ruble did, or the South African rand, just go through the roof out of nowhere. And that's what it seems like it's screaming, what it's trying to do. Matter of fact, we should go back to J4X and put the weekly in there and see what that looks like, and see if it looks like the reverse head and shoulders even more dramatically. Hard to say, but it could literally be, this could be the head, just like it did here, where it was the head. The shoulder, the head, the shoulder here, and then it took off from the, what was that? It took off from the 7s up into the 8.5, and it's doing it. It looks like it's doing it again here. That looks like a lot of shoulder there, and if it does that, and this is the reverse head and shoulders again, we're going to be seeing 9.5, 10 or something like that, and we don't even know. And in something that's so illiquid, the panic could be pretty dramatic. So. Traders, be very careful in that particular product at the moment. All right. Charles Schwab, the broker, beats estimates. 472 versus 460 in billion. So 4.72 billion actual versus 4.6 billion. Yeah, with all that money being pumped in through the COVID stuff, boy, we should be seeing some incredibly great numbers. Should be really positive. In economic terms, exploding. The world's full of debt. Now we're, talking about yesterday, there was discussion about how to grow out of this. How do you unwind this, what we've done here in the States? And basically it's like, they're looking for 9% GDPs to carry them up and get our gross domestic product up to 27 trillion, and then try to start taking some of this stuff off of what they've advanced. So there is a method to the madness. Let's hope they follow through on it. And try to reduce the debt. That's the way we feel about it here in the States. We're not happy about all this debt. Let's see now. Let's go over to, how people always say, oh, they're rich and they can afford it. And so they think that, the rich are just pissing money away, just spending it like it means nothing. Well, trust me, the more wealth you have, the more you want to keep. You don't want to piss it away, and or you don't want to spend it. And so just because the United States has this incredibly large GDP in the trillions, multiple trillions, in the 20-something trillion, it doesn't mean that we want to burn it up. Instead, we'd like to reduce the debt, and we're savers. We're very hungry to save and grow. That's what America's all about. That's why we're the world reserve currency, is that our debt to GDP ratio is so low compared to other countries, which is hard to believe considering the amount of debt we have, but that's the way it works. So anyway, so when people go, oh, they're so wealthy, they're so rich, they can afford it, maybe they don't want to be throwing money away. Maybe they want to save money for that rainy day. Maybe that's what it comes down to in the end. All right, now let's jump over to the Canadian. That's been kind of curious. I think it was who was it that asked for Canadian? I think it's 47 that does that, right? The Canadian's been kind of odd. There's a lot of strange cross currents going on there right now. As you can see here, we've been in the daily. Yeah, why did I have that up there? It shouldn't be. It should be down here. There's the daily sell right there. There's the daily sell about 5 or 6 days ago. What is that? 2, 3, 4, 4 days back, going on a 5th day. So I'll get rid of that line. I forget what we were talking about with it. That's where we went into the daily buy, but we're in a weekly sell here, and it keeps on trying to get in there. And you can see on the box there, we are minus 0.00020. So we're like 20 thousandths of a tick, 20 thousandths of a tick in the minus. Just as we just saw, what was it in cable, where we were, was it a cable where we were like 100 thousandths in the plus? Can you imagine that? We take a tick and rip it apart down to 100 thousandths and a millionth. I remember my math was designed to challenge the Higgs boson back in the 70s, so I designed it for that, so it kind of can extrapolate out pretty far. It's blocked out. Thank you, MGA. Thank you for wicking me up there. There we are. Yeah, so there's the Canadian. And you can see it's just fighting right now, just right there to try to... that's not it. That's not doing it. There we go. We'll use this. There you go. You can see it's just fighting to try to get back to the plus on the weekly. And the daily is, in the sell, so we're not that confident. It's even as tight as it's gotten that it's going to do that. Let's see. What is that? I got an arrow in there somewhere. There we go. Okay, so there it is. So very close. As you can see, there in the box, it's minus 0.00016 now, 18 now. See how delicate it is? It is measuring incredible amounts. So it's 18 thousandth of a tick. 18 thousandths of a tick. Can you imagine that? I never really say that out loud to anybody. I just keep on marching along and look at my numbers, and if it's plus, it's plus. If it's minus, it's minus. But sometimes I never look how extreme my math can go. I'm not measuring atomic particles or isotopes or expanding galaxies. I'm just measuring trading objects on a surface. In this case here, there are currencies and stocks and commodities. All right, now let's jump over to... From there, we go to the NASCAD, because let's just get rid of that. We try to interpret this action here. When this is going down, excuse me, when the Canadian is going down, let's get a mouse on it there. When the Canadian's moving down, we usually assume that the oil is going up in value. And then what we do is we go and we look at the, where is it at? Then from there, we go over to the NASCAD, which is the New Zealand Kiwi against the Canadian dollar, and they call that the Looney Trade. I know some are a little confused because some think of the Looney Trade as the gold coin or the Canadian itself, but we look at that as the Looney Trade, and that pairs, and you can see it here, it is rising, so we have to assume that oil is firm and going up. Now what we'll do is, because of looking at those two pairs trades, we'll slide over to there we go, and check out the crude oil, and there it is right there, and it's just down a little bit, but it's up firm from its move overall from yesterday, and made a little bit, I guess, did we make a little bit higher high from yesterday? No, we didn't, because the high yesterday is 63.51, and today the high is, oh yes it is, 63.55. It ticked it by 4 ticks, and now it's backed off a little bit in here. Acting firm. You can see we've been in the daily buy since this area here, and let's see, our weekly is having a hard time getting into a weekly buy, which is curious why it's fighting it, but maybe this is just going to be like a big long let's see if we can do this over here. So this might be like a big A, B, C, or something like A, B, C, A. This must be like the A, B, C, B building, and then it's probably going to roll over again somewhere along this line here. That's what the weekly is trying to tell us. So the daily is trying to protect us not to be short, and the weekly is telling us that don't get long. So it's telling us that it's a neutral position right now with the oil. Don't reach for it thinking it's going to 100. right now. Just wait until it gets back into the weekly buy before you go after the thing. Now you can see, the last time we went into a weekly buy, it was a really whistleblower. Just roared from the 40s all the way up into the 60s. Sometimes they last for a week. You can see it here, where it slides into the weekly sell, goes right back into the weekly buy, hangs out 2 weeks in the buy, realizes it doesn't like it there, goes back into the weekly sell. It collapses from the mid 43 area down to the 30 something area. What is that? 38 area, 37 area. For a couple of weeks. Starts to, I guess, what is it? It goes a little sideways in here. It's kind of curious. It gets into the buy here for the bottom, and then it throws this at you, and then you get squeezed out of this. That's our 1.5 where we're inaccurate. Then it goes into the buy here. Tells us that strength is coming in. Gets into the weekly buy here in the mid 40s. And the math always kind of it always straightens you out profit-wise. In other words, if you lose money, it's going to go find a way to make you money, like as if you hit the gold mine. And sure enough, it goes back into the buy here, and it doesn't let go. It just runs all the way for weeks upon weeks. I think it's like 18 or 20 weeks. It goes from the low 40s to the high 60s. Like a not doubling, but 50% increase in value. And so we're in a weekly sell here after that big long run, and you can see it's gone in and out a couple times here on the dailies. When they're that tight, it just tells you how much confusion is in the market where they can't make a decision. And now we're trying to ride the upside here, and we'll see how that plays itself out. But it's not obviously getting into the weekly. We still have today, and we have tomorrow. Let's see if it'll close in the weekly buy. Maybe next week will be the week. We'll see. And that's crude oil, and that's how we go from there. And then we look at the energies. So we go take a look at the natural gas. You can see they've run the natural gas. In this case here, this has been really weird. These last couple of days have been really tough. The math is losing money here, which is very rare. So the next time it goes into the, it's in the sell now, and you're getting your head handed to you, which is very rare for this. So sooner or later it's going to come, the math will get you back into the saddle, and it will make everything that it lost here. That's why using the correct amount of money and using the right tools is very profitable, following the two quantitative tools here, the daily here and the weekly. And it's really going awry there. Wow. Interesting. It's been in a sell, weekly sell, since has it gone into a buyout? No. It's been in the weekly sell since, where's that at? Let's take a look and see. So it's been in a weekly sell since the 280-ish area? What is that, 290-ish area? And where we're at now, where are we now? We're at the 260 area. So, it's giving up a little of the profits that it's been making, that's all. It's not exactly in the minus, it's just it's giving away money that has already been made. All right. Now, we'll take a look at the Robo Gas, the automobile gas that they use. And there it is right there. Let's see if we can get rid of that. There we are. And as you can see there, the product is showing strength here on the daily. It's climbing up these last couple of days, and it's still in a weekly buy. It just refuses to go into a sell. Automobile gasoline, the fuel that powers gas-powered cars, has been in a buy, and it just refuses to go into a sell. And it's gone from the 140s to the 215, which is a pretty big number there. It's a 33% increase. We've gone into some of our sell situations like here, but you can't be short. You just stay out of the market. Unless you're doing options, then you can take a shot at it, because then it has a limited risk factor. Or a binary, either one of those. Binaries or options outright. And then you can see here it goes into the sell, it goes down, and then went into the buy right here. And then it's obviously another winner chicken dinner. And it's in the buy there in a weekly and a daily now. Let's put that down where it belongs to. Belongs right there. So that's the action in the energies. That's what we're seeing in the energy complex. Now let's jump over to the currencies again. We go and take a look at the ruble and so forth. Take a look at another group of currencies that we follow. And there's the ruble. I was happy to see it starting to move down. We went into the sell right there. Let's see. Let's put that in there. But it doesn't seem like it's really getting any traction out of it. We've been in a weekly buy since here. And then, so that was a nice win there. It told us to take the profits area here. Went back into a buy again. Ran up again. Made more monies. Went into the sell here. You can't go short because, again, unless you're using binaries, you can't go short. And then you can see it goes down a little bit. And it's still down. It had a little pop here today. And we'll see how they hold up. But overall, there's, unfortunately, it seems to want to go up in value more than it wants to go down. That's why it's in that weekly buy, which is disappointing in its own right. A country with all those resources, I'm always bullish on the product itself, all those natural resources, educated workforce, you just have to assume that there's great potential there economically. That's the way we always see it. We always think that it's got lots of, great potential. All right, now let's drift over to, let's see, where are you? Right there, we'll go to the yen. You can see the yen's been on a little slide here. And finally, since the buy in the 103s area, where it ran up to the 111s almost, or 110s and change, we're starting to flirt with the weekly sell here. So we'll put that little circly thing in there to remind you when you look at it. There we are. And change the color to the sell side of the weekly. And so it's saying to us that this run is coming to an end. We've been in the daily sell since up in here. So it's told us that there's pressure on it on the downside. Then we drift over to, where do we go? We go ruble, yen, and then we slide down to the Mexican peso. Right there, dollar peso. And that's doing the same gig. It's been going on for weeks now. So we've been in the daily sells 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, going on 15 days. We've been in a weekly sell for 3 full weeks, going on a 4th week. So that's nice, smooth trading. That's positive for the Mexican peso. As it goes down in value, it means it's becoming more valuable of a product. That's always a positive thing when you live in that country. You want your currency to have some strength. It reduces the inflation factor when you're buying imports. Then, let's see. So there is the Mexican peso. And then if anybody cares to see any other currency, just give a yell. Just throw it up on the chat line. If not, we'll drift from there. We kind of drift over to the metals complex because metals are used as a derivative of currencies nowadays. So now we'll go look at gold and silver and so forth. And there is gold. You can see the strength in that. It's going to try to climb into a weekly buy. We've been in a weekly sell since a while ago. Since went into the weekly sell back in almost the first week of January in the $1,900 area. And the product has, through that weekly sell, has found its way all the way down to, what's that? That is 1,676 is the low there. And you can see we've been in a daily buy now since here. Hasn't really gone too far. I mean, it's the low 17s versus the mid 17s. And we've been in a weekly sell, so you can't be short it. You're just kind of, unless you're doing binaries, you're just watching it. And then you can see here we're trying to flirt our way into that weekly buy. Maybe it's going to change a direction and we'll go see some good action on the upside. Hard to say. Central banks use this as a currency. So it makes it very tough for it to get any legs. That's why the cryptos are so much more important nowadays. And yesterday, the big crypto came out, the Coinbase, that trades and executes orders, and opened up at that was supposed to open at $250 a share, opened at $380 a share, $130 higher, ran to 429, and then it fell back down into the 300 area, and closed at 325. And we're going to be showing that chart very soon as it builds up data, because it should be a very, very liquid product compared to right now. Ethereum is only trading something like 2,000 contracts a day. That's just too thin to actually trust the action. As much as the bid and offers are tight, there's not much real action in the product. Sometimes it just doesn't trade, the futures compared to the Ethereum itself. I think it was Daniel was saying that. It only like $2 wide and dollar wide in its bid and offer, but on the future side, it's too thin to trust. And the same thing is going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's in the 5,000 or 6,000 contract a day situation, maybe a little bit more than that, but that's awful little, to trust. Whereas the stock is going to have the equity universe, which is like, I don't know, 30 times greater. The equity traders here in the States compared to the commodity traders. So it's going to be a very liquid product. I'm looking forward to having a good crypto that we can actually put our math to, that we trust. You can see on the fact check spreadsheet, we do Bitcoin now, right here down on line 28. We'll light it up for you. See that there on the fact check spreadsheet? Where's that? Right there. See the fact check spreadsheet right here? And so, you can see it colored. And I'll just make that bigger for a moment. There we are. That's the fact check spreadsheet. We'll now shrink it down. And you can see we were in a daily buy for 4 days. We're in a weekly sell. It's feeling some pressure in there. Bitcoin did jump up into the 63, 64 area. Let me see where it's trading today. We'll take a look at that. We do have that in there. But we're really looking forward to a more liquid product to follow after every day. You see it went into the sell at the end of the day yesterday, down into the 61 area. That's 61,000 from the 64 area. You can see today they're trying to lift it up, and we're flirting with the weekly sell at the same time. We're in the weekly sell for 2 weeks, and the daily buy protected us, because you can see right here, but it's not very liquid. And it's, you can see, we can throw that up on J4X. No doubt, it's a $60,000 product, and so it should be, trading with a very wide bid and offer, and it does. But at the same time, when you're trying to trade the futures contracts, it's very, very thin. So you can see here, it's about $50 wide. Maybe now it's $75 wide. $754 at 23. So it's about 70 some odd dollars wide bid to offer. I mean, imagine if you accidentally hit the wrong button and you buy it at 823 and you go, oh no, I got to get rid of it. I'm bearish. And you go to sell it. Now there's a 744 bid. You're down like $80 out of nowhere. It's like, oh man, just one trade and I'm down in a hole. How did I throw the money away? So that's why I'm saying I need a more liquid product to trade those type of things. And our math needs a much more liquid product. So we'll wait and see. We think the COIN, the Coinbase, is going to be a very liquid thing. It'll be really good, and we'll be able to follow the cryptocurrencies through it much, much better than these futures contracts. And that is that when it comes to the way of looking at the crypto. So what we do is we're looking at the gold, and as we showed you, it's showing life. And then silver went into the weekly buy last week, and it's trying to hold up. We went into some odd little selling action here that didn't work out very well at all. And now it's back into the buy today. It's trying to get its legs going on the upside there. And obviously you couldn't have taken this sell anyway, solely because we're in a weekly buy here. You see that right there. Oop. We're we're in the weekly buy. See, we'll do it over here. We're in the weekly. Let's do that like that. We're in the weekly buy here, so you can't take that short anyway, so it doesn't matter. You can only just take profits off of it. And so that's the action we're seeing there. Now let's drift over to, we'll take a look at platinum. See what the platinum's doing. If anybody wants to see palladium or anything like that, give a yell. We'll put it up there. And there's the platinum. Is that it right there? No, there it is right there. And the platinum, we watched the platinum gold spread. And it's basically trading at, let's put gold up on J4X here. And there's gold trading at 1748, and we're looking at platinum at 1196. So what we're really looking at is a 54. So it's 554, and the spread. You know, we've been a bear on the spread since a little better than 1,030 or something like that. And so we're watching this product in particular and seeing that the action in it. You know, we call it the Yellen Spread. The Secretary of Treasury, when she was Fed chair, the spread was pushed to stay tight, and then when she left, the spread exploded from say $100 and some odd to $1,000. And when she became sworn in to, or was suggested that she was going to be the Secretary of Treasury, we started betting again that more than likely you're going to see the spread go back down into the $400 or $500 area, if not lower, and sure enough, it has. It's been trading as low as 474. It bounced up to, obviously today it's at 554, but it's definitely $500 lower than what it was when it first started off with Mrs. Yellen moving into that position there. All right, what else we got going on here? So that's the metals complex. And then we drift back over to, and we take a look at the stock indices from here. And if anybody wants to see a currency or something of that nature, just give a yell and we'll look at it. So there is the Nasdaq 100, or better known on Dukascopy as the Tech 100. Let's put it up on there. And that's basically the indice that powers everything. You know, it's got the Cisco system and the Microsoft and the Intel and the Google and the Amazon and the Tesla and the Facebook, and it's in the what else is there in there? Workforce. It's all the modern corporations, the tech companies that are powering our society and making it more productive. Let's see right there. And let's see, what else can we look at here? So you can see that's the Tech 100. You can see we are right there. You can see we're in a weekly buy. We did flirt with the daily sell yesterday, and sure enough, it's trying to perk its head up again and get going to all-time highs there. We can take a look at the S&P 500. Dukascopy does that one. That's the one right above it on the J4X right there. See it right there? There it is. And this is at all-time highs as we speak. That's what that's doing. It's at all-time highs. And it did not go into the sell yesterday. You can see that there. And we've been in a weekly buy since down here. So the trend has been your friend. And it's just moving slow and steadily to the moon. Then we drift over to the granddaddy of them all, which now has adapted to the 21st century, and that is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, again trading at this moment in time at all-time highs, and in a weekly buy all the way back there in the 31,000 area. So this is looking very, very firm also, and at the same time, it has incorporated, instead of all 30 Dow stocks being New York Stock Exchange stocks, now it has 6 of the stocks that are powering the Nasdaq 100, or the Tech 100, and that is, it has Apple in it, it has Cisco Systems in it, it has Intel in it, it has Microsoft in it. There are the 4 right there. It has Salesforce, that's 5, and I'm trying to think who. Oh, and it has Amgen. That's what it is. They put Amgen in there, the pharmaceutical biotech. So it has 6 of those in there, and 24 New York Stock Exchange stocks and 6 Nasdaq stocks, which the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Dow Jones Transportation Average and the Dow Jones Utility Average were created to market the stock exchange back in the 1860s and 1870s and so forth. And so people were measuring the activity of society through the stock indice. And now, it was all dedicated to the New York Stock Exchange stocks. And now we see that it's more dedicated to the world market itself. Fascinating to see that happen. It just shows you the times and how they've changed dramatically. Whereas, we would never imagine 10 or 15 years ago that there would be a Nasdaq stock in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That was beyond imagination. It was a Dow Jones stock. But then when the New York Stock Exchange was bought by the Intercontinental Commodities Exchange, the ICE, then what happened was they became more of a global product, and it's been kind of quiet. No one's really talking about it. Doc does, but overall, no one's really talking about the alteration that has occurred. All right, and then we go to what used to be the Nasdaq 100 or Tech 100 used to be the over-the-counter market, and it still is, and it was more of the speculative stocks. Now they've become the pillars of society, economic society. And now what we do is we go and look at the replacement for it, and that is the Russell 2000. So let's take a look at the Russell 2000 right there. And you can see how far there's all-time highs right here. You can see it's not getting the same strength. The speculators are not coming in, and they seem to be buying the more established products, whereas we just saw this particular product make an incredible run since, I guess you could say, over the last 5 months. It has been just an incredible run from the 1600 to the 2300, I think it is. Yeah, 2300. That's it's from 16 to 23. That's almost like a 30 some odd % move. It's a fantastic move. Just a fantastic move for speculative stocks, no less. You got to figure these are the weakest. These are the most low, the lowest of the financed. Lowest capital weighted. These are speculative. 1 out of 1,000 will be the next Amazon. 1 out of 1,000 will be the next Google. That type of thing. In other words, it's not where you put your retirement money. It's speculative money that powers this thing. And so it's interesting. You can see that speculators are really, as much as we're seeing the markets at all-time highs, we're seeing that the speculators have tapped out. And so in many ways, you have to say philosophically, what does that mean? The Russell is not taking off to all-time highs. The speculators are not just pouring money into the product. So it says basically is that the market is overall, the broad market is probably not topping out. It's not at the bubble state yet. I would say that if we see the Nasdaq, the Russell 2000 go to say 2,600 or something like that, maybe then that is a speculative bubble again, a push. And you can see we went into the all-time highs in March, and then it sold down. And then you can see at the same token, we'll look at the S&P 500 from the same situation. So all-time highs were March 15th. We go over and we look at the S&P 500, and March 15th, let's see, where is March 15th? There's your high of all-time high in the S&P 500, and you can see it backs off very little and takes off just a few, like a week later, it's already at new all-time highs. And whereas the Russell, after that, fantastic explosion, right there, that fantastic explosion can't get any legs whatsoever. You see, it's got some strength in it, but overall, it does not have that fantastic explosion power that it had before. So I guess the spec money, remember there was this really mad I guess we were relating this to the Reddit Robinhood situation, whereas a lot of those stocks that were squeezed in the Reddit Robinhood universe, uh, GameStop and so forth, are in this index. They're the low cap weighted companies, and we were thinking that some of the funds which got in trouble over all that might have been hedging themselves by shorting the stocks, like a AMC, the movie theater chain, and GameStop and so forth, shorting them and buying the Russell, and then when the squeeze came, it didn't go with it, because notice that coordination pretty much is with that explosion of the GameStop situation. We probably should put a GameStop. Let's see if we can do that. I think it's GMS, GameStop. Let's do that. Take a look and see. And it wouldn't, I think it pretty much coordinates with that. And that was the action that we saw. And it just shows you, again, we've talked about that. The only real hedge is binaries or options. When they try to do different pairs against different products, it's usually a big risk. It really is. Let's see if we have GameStop in there. I guess we don't. All right, so we have ARC. Let's activate that and see if we can put GameStop in there. And see, that was like the antithesis of that squeeze. Was that GMS? I think that's what it is. Add symbol. Let me just look it up real quick. But I think that's the way it rolled. And that was the explosion that we saw too at the same time in the the speculation. Let's see, GameStop, GME. All right, so let's try that. Let's cancel that out and go to GME, not S. Thought we had it up there actually. I was really surprised that we didn't. And E. Yeah. Okay, add symbol, stock, GME. Oops. GME. Let's just take a look and see how well that coordinated. Right there was smart. No. Right there. No. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. It's got to be on the Nasdaq side, I would think. Maybe not. GameStop must be a New York Stock Exchange stock. Let's see if we can find it. Let's do BATS. That might be a better one to do. And then let's try putting that in there. Close. There. See how it fills in. Yep, there we go. And we'll do the same thing here. G and there we are. And close. Now let's go take a look at that tightened up. See how well it coordinated to that March 15th. There's March 10th. There's March 12th. So it had topped out on that crazy explosion up to the $300 and some odd area. See, let's go back and see. No, that was February too. It exploded there too. They squeezed it then too. And so we thought that the buying was going on in the Nasdaq, not Nasdaq, I'm sorry, Russell 2000, because of the funds being trapped with the Reddit vigilantes, I guess you could call them. That's what they were calling them, the Reddit Robinhood vigilantes, trying to cover the short. Matter of fact, everybody still says it's only worth $10 a share, but no one even has a remote willing to short it at this point. The shorts are all gone. It went from being 150% short, in other words, more short than stock outstanding, to very almost no short. It's amazing. It's a very interesting wired world we're in nowadays. So, all right. And so then let's do this. Let's close that. There we are. And then let's see. So that is the stock indices when looking at the the whole overall market action, and compared to the currencies, which are pretty staid in a sense, very organized. Currency trading to me is much more consistent, has better momentum. And if it wasn't for the wild bull market of all this free cash, even, what is it, today I saw Citibank. Its earnings came out, and it's now, during the crisis of 2008, it fell to, the collapse of the banking system, basically, in 2008. The global banking system fell apart. And no one really talks about it too out loud. That's why Lloyd's of London is owned by the Exchequer, and Deutsche Bank is owned by the German Republic, and Citibank is owned by the Federal Reserve, and I can go on and on and on. And Merrill Lynch is no more. It's been merged into Bank of America, and Bear Stearns has been merged into J.P. Morgan. In other words, all these major companies in the banking system and the finance system were collapsed, and they're all merged in. So anyway, Citibank, which was so big, and they had to protect it, like they had to protect Lloyd's of London and Deutsche Bank and so forth, or Bank of Scotland, or HSBC. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Santander, all these things went belly up, and so they're all in name now, but they are not really the entities that they were before 2008. They're owned by the central banks, and so Citibank's earnings came out this morning, and the stock is now at $74 a share, which is pretty cool. But the thing is, they did a 10-for-1 reverse split in it, so it's really only $7 a share, really. So, you're looking at a stock that at one time was $67, is now trading at $7, or you do the reverse 10-to-1, and it's trading at 70. You multiply it by 10, so the $7 stock is now a $70 stock, but the all-time high now is $670. So it still shows you how in bad shape a lot of these institutions are, and that's the odd universe we live in. That's the only way to look at it, is the odd universe. So anyway, it's been a quiet Thursday. Tomorrow is TGIF. Everybody have a safe and smart weekend. And what we'll do is we'll look at the numbers tomorrow and see how the weeklies look. So happy trails to you until we meet again, which will be TGIF. Happy trails to you, to all our cyber trading friends. Ta-ta for now, traders.